Please to stand with us as Brother Michael Gill from New Hope Christian Church leads us in prayer, and ask you to remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you so much for today and just the opportunity to come before you. We want to lift up our city and these leaders, and just this meeting tonight, that everything we do here is to glorify you. So lead, guide, and direct us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our future meetings include the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, August the 11th at 6 p.m., the Historic Preservation Commission, August the 15th at 7 p.m., Bartlett Arts Council, August the 16th at 6 p.m., BPAC Advisory Board, August the 16th at 6 p.m., and the Board of Zoning Appeals, August 18th at 6:30 p.m. We traditionally recognize any scouts. I didn't see any come in tonight. So we will move then to the official business of the day. The first item is the minutes from July the 26th.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? If not, if you go to your device and cast your vote, please. The minutes are approved. I will mention that Alderman Pleasant is still under the weather and unable to be with us, so continue to keep him in your prayers. Next, we have two public hearings. The ground rules for our public hearings are that there's a maximum of 3 minutes for each person to speak either for or against an item, with a total of 20 minutes for each. The first one, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 22-03, an ordinance adopting certain newer editions of the International Codes as amended.
All right. Mr. Brown.
Good evening. This adoption will keep us in line with the requirements for the state of Tennessee, as well as continue to have the rating with the ISO that we've been able to maintain.
All right. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so at this time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of Ordinance 22-03 should come forward. Seeing no one coming forward, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no one coming forward, we will adjourn this public hearing and move to the second of our public hearings. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 22-02, an ordinance to amend Title 13, Chapter 1, Property Maintenance Regulations by adopting the 2021 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code as amended and deleting Chapter 4, Location and Fences on Private Property.
And just for correction, it's Ordinance 22-04. Mr. Brown.
Good evening once again. This is just bringing forward a newer version of the Property Maintenance Code. This is something that we periodically need to do, just as we do with the building codes.
And this is similar, if not exactly like what the county is using right now.
That's
is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. This is a public hearing. The same rules apply. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of Ordinance 22-04 should come forward at this time. Seeing no one coming forward, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing no one coming forward, we will adjourn this public hearing and we will go to unfinished business. Under unfinished business, item 1 is the third reading of Ordinance 22-03 that was presented just a few moments ago by Jim Brown.
Move we approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? If not, if you would, go to your device and cast your vote. The ordinance 22-03 passes. Item 2 under unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance 22-04.
Move we approve.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on this item?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
this ordinance, along with the previous ordinance, they take effect as of...
What was the date? What's the date, Jim?
I didn't see
Date
it.
of the adoption, which tomorrow,
Effective
basically?
dates today.
Right, okay. Yeah, tomorrow.
Yes, typically it is, but we're going to give everyone till September 15th to totally come in line with it so that we can continue to educate the contracting community.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, it's been properly moved and seconded. If you would, go to your device and cast your vote. Ordinance 22-04 passes. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Anyone on this board can remove any item for separate discussion. Is there anyone on the board that has an item they would like to remove? If not, Madam Clerk, will you read the items into the record, please?
Item 1, bid for spinner cycle bikes. Item 2, authorization to auction surplus property.
You've heard the request.
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This does not call for debate on consent agenda, so if you will, please go to your device and cast your vote. Consent agenda passes. Next, new business, item 1, Madam Clerk.
Contract for Fletcher Creek Sewer System Flow Metering and Analysis.
Mr. Horn, Assistant Director of Engineering.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here to request approval for a sewer modeling contract for our Fletcher Creek sewer system with Bard's Design Firm. The contract, I believe, is attached for you to review. And I thought I would just give just a brief explanation of where we've gotten here with our sewer modeling with the Fletcher Creek system. As you know, a good portion of our city sewers to the south, to the city of Memphis. I think Penny's working on getting us a picture up. Not working? Okay. Back in 2012, the city of Memphis was issued a consent decree by the EPA requiring them to correct some of their sewer problems in their system. As early as 2019, they approached us as a city and mentioned that some of the problems they were experiencing were due to excessive flows that we were sending south to the city of Memphis. And they requested us to do at least two things. One was to install 3 large sewer storage tanks. 2 of those are in the proposed area of the Union Depot development at Stage and Highway 70. The other one that they proposed is near Highway 64 and Santa Valley. So far, and the other thing that they asked of us to do was to require each of our developments in Fletcher Creek to any future developments to install sewer holding tanks, individual ones. We've agreed to do that, to install those individual small holding tanks, and we have not agreed to install these larger ones. And so in your map that I gave you, there shows an area of study that is going to be a part of this modeling, and it's particularly the area of Union Depot. I want to fast forward a little bit to last December, when the city of Memphis agreed to let Union Depot and their proposed sewer flows to develop. And the agreement on that was for the developer to construct 2 of those large holding tanks on their site, 2 of the 3 on site. One of the tanks would be 280,000 gallons, the other one would be 260,000, and these would be enough to accommodate Union Depot flows. And so the agreement was for these tanks to be installed as a part of phase 1 for Union Depot. But what was mentioned was these would not accommodate future flows in this portion of the Fletcher Creek Basin. And when I say this portion, the portion that is in the area of Union Depot, not what's further east of there. And so we still have other areas in this portion of the basin, in the area of Union Depot, that we hope will develop in the future. One of them is the Bailey Wiener track. Another one is right next to the assisted living area near Kirby Witten and Yale Road. And we also have a number of lots on Kirby Witten near Kirby Lakes that are trying to develop right now, and this is holding them up. So one of the jobs of our sewer modelers was to ask them, if we expand these 2 proposed tanks at Union Depot, would that accommodate future flows? And so the answer we were given was each of those 2 tanks could be expanded by 30,000 gallons apiece. That would accommodate not only Union Depot, but the other potential developments in that portion of Union Depot, that surrounding area, for the days to come. And so this proposed contract that I have before you is to finish up the analysis of that area. And also these holding tanks are going to eventually be owned and maintained by our city. So we need to make sure that we are controlling the flow in and controlling the flow out, what we're discharging to the city of Memphis. And so this flow monitoring proposal and modeling is a part of this contract here.
All right, thank you. You've heard the request.
Move to approve.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there any discussion, questions, comments?
Yes.
If you get your mic, there you go.
And I'm sure y'all have done your work. And by combining these 2, and I know where you're headed with it, did they have a printout of what they have every day or every month?
The sewer flows?
Yeah.
Tanks? Yes, sir. One of the things that we're going to have to do is make sure that these tanks will accommodate our future development. And the sewer meters that are going to be installed will monitor the sewer flows to where we'll be able to control the amount of flow daily that comes into those tanks and the amount of flow that comes out. And these tanks will only operate during high rain events, because a lot of our sewer pipes, when we get a big storm event, they take on groundwater and rainwater. That's when these tanks will mainly be utilized, is during those rain events.
So just to be clear, the modeling will be done on the basis of what is anticipated with the development of Union Depot, the property across the street behind the First Tennessee building, and then the ones over there by the senior facilities. So it's anticipating and not analyzing, and anticipating what those flows might be and what size tank it would take to handle that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I know that, I think I already know the answer to this, but those anticipated flows will be based on what anticipated use of
Yes.
that property being rezoned to be.
Yes, yes. All right. All right, anybody else? We have a proper motion and second. If there's no one else, please go to your device and cast your vote.
I don't know where it is. Yeah,
The contract is approved. Item 2, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 30-22, a resolution to delete uncollectible accounts from utility customers' accounts receivable in the amount of $38,723.91.
Mr. Phoebus, Director of Finance.
This is a resolution we use to write off uncollectible water bills each year. I think last year was about 43,000, year before about 50-something thousand. This year we're asking you to write off $38,723.91. There's a list of those by category included in your Alderman packet, and show where the funds are being written off. Would remind you that even though these are written off, the accounts will still maintain on our books, and if people come back into the city, move back, and want to set up water service again, they will have to pay whatever they owe in order to get it connected.
All right, you've heard the request.
Move we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? If not, will you go to your device and cast your vote? Resolution 30-22 passes. Madam Clerk, item 3.
First reading of ordinance 22-05, an ordinance amending the existing sign ordinance, Title 14, Chapter 4, Section 14-401I, abandoned signs, Section 14-40139, political signs, Section 14-40151, temporary signs, Section 14-402, general requirements, Section 14-410, moving signs prohibited, Section 4-426, political signs restricted, Section 14-446, private sign, sales sign permitted, Section 14-452, signs permitted in other districts, and Section 14-471, establishment of a special sign corridor of the codified ordinances of the City of Bartlett, Tennessee.
Thank you. Tim Taylor, Director of Planning and Economic Development.
Yes, this is a city-initiated request to amend the sign ordinance. Due to some recent changes in legislative laws, and as time moves along, rules change. We are having to amend our sign ordinance to meet the needs for the use of temporary signage, which includes political signage, construction signage, holiday decorations, real estate signage, handheld signage, directional signage, as well as regulations for flag and flag poles, etc. The amendments will not regulate the messages on the signs, but it will regulate the size, the location, and provide time limitations. We are also needing to expand our special sign corridor section of the sign ordinance, which is currently located at the intersection north of US 64 and Germantown Road, to also include the area north of the intersection of US Highway 64 and north along Highway 70. This will allow larger signs for properties having frontage of 1,000 feet or greater, and for properties that are 5 acres or more, or a single cohesive development that is 5 acres or more. This request for the amendment, along with the entire sign ordinance, was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their regular scheduled meeting on August 1st, 2022, and it comes to you with a favorable recommendation.
All right. If whoever the motion maker is, if you would include setting the public hearing for September 13th.
Move we approve and set a public hearing for September 13th.
When do we
Have a motion?
When do
Is there a second?
Put the signs out.
Second ordinance, I don't remember.
There's a motion and a second. Now, any comments, questions?
Yeah, I have some questions. So, I guess my question, please explain to me. I read over it, and would this exempt the American flag because it says United States of America, or would this include the American flag or any other flag someone wants to put out?
That is correct. The American flag and any other flag that someone wants to put out.
It exempts, or
it allows.
It allows it?
Yes.
What about decorations in your yard, like that you get from Hobby Lobby?
Yeah, and they're tied to holiday or celebrative months. Like if there's a month-long celebration, it sets a time period for how long that particular decoration can be in your yard.
So who decides that, though? Because that could be up to...
Ordinance has the...
For example, I have a bunny in my yard, right? So the ordinance could decide that that's considered Easter.
Right.
So they could come by and tell me to take that down.
So you can have it up for, I believe, 30 days. And then it must be taken down 7 days after the holiday.
And we have enough staff for ordinance, enough people in the ordinance department to go around and do this.
In the code?
And
No. No.
So I'm fine with the ordinance with all the voting and everything else like that, but for us to go around and put HOA rules and regulations on there and someone to tell me I can't have my statue bunny out there because they consider it Easter, I think there has to be a happy medium somewhere, but that's just my thought and process.
I don't disagree, and you can make a motion to amend either tonight or in either of the other two readings to look at those things and consider alternatives to those things.
Okay, perfect.
From what I'm understanding, is it
Kim,
a garden
could you talk
statute?
in the mic?
I'm sorry. Well,
No, it's like
kind
a
of past
post.
me.
Y'all would tell me to take it down, I would assume.
I believe there's two separate things. There's garden statues, which could possibly be a bunny, and then there's Easter decorations, which might be a big plastic bunny or a blow-up bunny, or there's a difference.
Yeah. And then you also have I don't know. I would like to motion to look at this ordinance again and maybe make some changes to the ordinance.
Well, we already have a motion to
approve.
Accept.
Yeah,
so
for the hearing.
If you're wanting to amend, you're going to need amendment language to this to amend this motion to something specific.
Okay.
You've got time to do that
I do.
between now and September.
Okay. I have time to do that, David said.
Yeah, but before the second or third reading, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Others?
Alderman? First, I want to say we should call that the bunny amendment. We should have that.
I like that.
The what amendment?
The bunny amendment. We're protecting bunnies. I agree with Alderman Young, the other Alderman Young. We do have some problems and to look at, and for example, Halloween Cove, they start in September building their stuff, so they're going to need more than 30 days. And so I'd like to do some strikeouts and insertions or I'd like to make the motion to do some of that, if that's okay.
Well, again, you're going to have to be able to give us
Yes, I can give you exactly. Yes.
your amendments to what's been done. So right now, it's on the floor as presented in your packet.
Yes.
If you have amendments that you would like to make on that tonight,
Yes.
you would need to give us those to look at to determine. Now, I do think that we have an issue potentially, and Penny and Ed, we have to do a certain amount of time on the notice, and that's why, particularly in this case, if it was a third reading, then it might be appropriate to do it that meeting. But I'm not sure. First of all, I need to be sure that this can be done tonight without having had any notice. If you'll get the microphone, please.
Yes, a motion could be made tonight to amend. And the notice you're talking about is a 15-day notice before the hearing. There'll be enough time to have that done before September the 13th.
All right, but now there's a ordinance, I believe, Madam Clerk, that requires an amendment to be. Well, remind me of that. I looked at something. We talked about something in regards to amendments or to add something to the agenda.
Well, we would be adding.
I need you to get your microphone.
It would not be adding anything to the agenda tonight. They're just merely making a motion to amend a current item that's already on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification. All right, with that in mind, if you have handouts.
Oh, I do not. I guess that would make it easier. It's on page 6, section 4, A. We have the number 30 consecutive days before a nationally recognized holiday, and I'd like to insert 60 where 30 is.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Let's go back. You're on.
Sorry. Page 6. Well, it's packet page 149. It's page 6 of this.
Oh, the packet. Okay, I was
Yes, sir,
looking
sorry.
at the
There's
sign order.
There's a lot of page numbers on here. Y'all excuse us.
Okay.
Yes.
And you'd like for it to say what? I'm sorry?
Sorry. Where it has up to 30 consecutive days before a nationally recognized holiday, I'd like to change that, strike that 30 and insert 60. Yes. Yes, sorry. It's on page 6, section 4, A. Within residential districts, holiday lights and decorations, including inflatables, up to 30 consecutive days. I'd like to strike the 30 and insert 60 consecutive days before a nationally recognized holiday, and keep the removal within 7 days. And that would allow Halloween Cove and some other people to, and maybe Alderman Young, to have her bunny out.
Okay.
And I apologize, I didn't print this out. In section 4, it's the same section in D, the temporary freestanding signs. That's been a lot of discussion about that because that's your St. Jude signs, that's your Bellevue signs, that's things like that, what you support. And I would like to strike out the quantity of 2, or make a motion to strike out a quantity of 2 and insert 6 signs. And that kind of keeps us to the number of flagpoles that we allow in front of places. Seems like 6 small signs is not much to ask, especially if you have a lot of candidates or something like that. And I'd like to strike out in the same paragraph, or make a motion to strike out in the same paragraph, the entire phrase of, and a display period not to exceed 60 days per lot for all such signs in the calendar year, because I feel that people who support St. Jude probably support it all year, not just 60 days. And I believe that would give people still freedom of expression without taking advantage of their neighbor's goodwill. Yeah, and that's.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Well, is that everything?
Yes, sir. That's everything. Sorry.
Well,
Okay.
to be honest with you, Kevin, if you're making changes, wouldn't you make something to 4B?
Well, you can. Look, we're going to have to. We have a motion and a second to amend, so we'll have to deal with that amendment, and then we can do another one.
Yeah.
So we have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the amendment to the item?
And I do apologize for just wording it.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking with section D. Can you?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't say section B. I was talking about section A.
A and D.
You said D.
Sorry, D.
D.
Yes, sir. Where it has 60 days per lot for all such signs in any calendar year. So you have the 2 signs and you only have 60 days per lot to exhibit those signs.
And you're saying take away the days totally?
Yes, sir. I was talking because people have a St. Jude sign or Bellevue or their church or something like that.
Okay.
Not political signs, because that would fall under a different category.
Okay.
So that's sorry.
Mayor, may I ask, who was the second?
Bobby.
That's all I have. Thank you. I apologize for any confusion.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we will be voting on the amendment. Everybody clear about what we're voting on?
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Under D, I understand what you're saying about St. Jude or Bellevue Baptist or anything like that. But does that open it up to any sign can be in anybody's yard forever?
Yes.
Is that? I'm
Well,
not,
we're
I'm not
not
sure I'm in favor of that. I
Okay.
mean, of any kind of sign saying anything.
I don't think we're allowed to limit what somebody has, unless it's obscene, I believe, is.
Well, but
Mr. McKinney can tell us.
Obscene, is that what you said?
No, sir, well, I'm saying.
Obsolete?
We have a place in here for obscene materials. You're not allowed to have that
okay.
on signs. But I don't think Mr. McKinney could tell us if we're allowed. I don't think we're allowed to make any discretion on the content. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Young was asking about, are we allowed to
I mean, basically what I understand is being proposed is that within this residential districts, then you can put up a sign that can stay there forever.
Well, if you take out the 60 days, that's going to be the result.
I need you to use your microphone just like you can't hear them, they can't hear you.
I apologize. If you remove the 60-day restriction, that could be a potential problem for the city.
how is that?
So can we put in there, instead of taking out the 60 days, can we put in there excluding nonprofit signs? So that should cover your churches, that should cover the supporters for not any nonprofit, but yet it won't cover political sides. And
Well, it already doesn't include political.
Well, it has political preference.
signs
Political
concern
preference.
you?
Signs.
That's my concern. I don't know. I can see a lot of people putting up a lot of things. I don't know. I have absolutely no problem with B and you're eliminating, changing the 31 to 60, but I don't know if I want to. Anyway, that's my problem.
Would you like me to separate that?
I would, yeah.
Okay. Well, I apologize. All right. How do I reverse out of this, Mr. McKinney?
So do
shorten the
you
amendment?
agree to, okay. So now you want to make a motion to, the First Amendment would
Yes,
be the 60 days under A, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And is your motion on that, Bobby, does that still stand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on 4A, removing the 30 and adding the 60. Any other discussion on that part? All right. If not, Madam Clerk, are you going to be able to do this? Voice voted or? Okay. All right. New territory for our new equipment here. So if you will, go to your device on 4A and cast your vote in favor or opposed.
The motion is Kevin though, and Alderman Simmons, I'm sorry, is the second?
Yes.
All right, now we're ready, okay.
There it is.
Okay. The first amendment passes, which of course we'll have to go back to the amended full thing in a little bit. Now, you're wanting to do a second one, is that right, Alderman?
Yes, sir. There's actually three, because the second one would be in section 4D, where it has freestanding sign. Temporary freestanding signs should be limited to 2 per lot at any given time, and I was trying to change that.
So
also.
it would
So there's
seem
three
to
things.
me
Yes,
that if you're going that, and I'm not sure what the support will be like on this, but you wouldn't want to call them temporary freestanding if you're allowing them to be up forever, right?
That's true. I may have to put that under the Bunny Amendment.
Pardon me?
I may have to put that under the Bunny Amendment. That's true. That's I see Jack's point. Temporary freestanding. Well, that's why it'd be 3 different votes. That's why it'd be 3 different ones. Oh, so I had 3 different things. Well, I'll tell you what. Just for the sake of time right now, we just skip to the display period. So I make a motion on the display period not to exceed, to strike the display period not to exceed 60 days per lot for all such signs in the calendar year.
And what about the 2 that you had as 6?
Well, I'll just skip that for right now because
Okay.
it is confusing with the temporary freestanding signs.
Okay.
So repeat that, so you're taking out the
Let me
phrase,
see if I can.
the display period of 60 days altogether?
Yes.
But again, I would question
this
the
no
first
longer
part of
temporary.
that because it
it's
is
strike the
no
word temporary.
longer a temporary potentially.
Can I? Okay. Do I need to make a separate motion to strike the word temporary?
What? Well,
You're true. It is no longer temporary because they are up for good, just like a lot of them are.
well, I think it ought to go since it's on this one item, or you can bring it back as an
I'll just
amendment
bring it back.
another
Okay.
night.
How about that? I'll just do that.
Okay.
I apologize
So you're
for the-
withdrawing the second amendment
Yeah, just for tonight. Yes.
for tonight. All right.
I'll get
Now,
squared away.
did you have one for tonight?
Nope, I'm going to withdraw till next time.
Okay. All right. So now, anybody have anything else on it tonight? All right. If not, what we'll be voting on is the amended, which is the 60-day item. We will be voting on the amended ordinance 22-05. Okay? Everybody clear? Do we have, can I get a motion to that effect that you're wanting to move the amended?
I thought we did.
Well, we got a motion for the ordinance, and now we need a motion for the amended ordinance, I believe.
I think we had that.
No?
We voted on the first one, not, yeah.
Oh, we did it on the first one.
We did.
So I'm confused. Have we voted on the amendment? Okay. So you're voting on the amendment, which has a proper motion and second, which is the 60-day language. All right? Have I got you confused enough?
We voted on that.
I thought so. Okay.
We did vote on the amendment. Now we need to vote on the
Okay,
ordinance.
my point
as
is,
amended.
now that we have that, we have to have a motion and a second to vote on the amended ordinance.
I
Move we
motion.
approve.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the amended ordinance?
Jack and David.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Jack and Mandy.
Do
Young
you
and
need a
young.
separate motion, or do the original motion and seconder accept the amendment?
No. I think under Robert's rules, you have to go with another motion, I believe.
We voted on the amendment and it was approved. Now we have vote on the ordinance as amended.
Is it? Okay. All right. So, Young and Young have made the motion and second. And is there any discussion on that item?
You made the second, didn't you?
If not, if you will, go to your device and cast your vote on ordinance 2205, first reading as amended. Bobby's got a vote. Okay. Ordinance 2205 passes on first reading with the public hearing set for September the 13th, 2022. Thankfully, that's the last item on the agenda for tonight.
Don't leave.
So it is our tradition to allow anyone to speak to this body on any topic for up to 3 minutes, which we will set the clock in a minute. But before we go to the audience, is there anything any of the aldermen have to say on any item? All right. If not, directors, any directors have anything? All right. That being the case, any resident of Bartlett that wants to come up and speak on any topic may come forward at this time and give us your name and address for the record, and we will start the 3-minute clock and ask you to be finished at the end of that period. Seeing, okay.
I'm Shirley Jackson. I live at 6127 York Hill Drive, Bartlett. I'm not representing anyone. Just as you're considering this sign thing, I don't want to see any signs for 60 days. Nothing. Political, holidays, whatever. I mean, it's too much. We still have signs in Harmony's church parking lot now from the election last week. So I definitely don't want more signs.
Okay.
What do you want?
Well, she just doesn't want that. All right. Anyone else?
Can I make a comment?
Pardon me?
Can I make a comment?
Let's hear from the public first.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Lou Jeter. I reside at 6778 Coral Hill. Thank you, first of all. Several of you did respond to some emails from me today. Sorry I was a little misinformed at the beginning, but I actually take a little bit of the opposite view on this sign ordinance. I do appreciate Alderman Quinn and Alderman Young for proposing some amendments that I think are necessary. I would just like to see a little bit, especially when we get into these issues of free speech. You know, I saw on my way here, I saw several signs at the side of the road asking people to slow down. I saw signs for religious causes, church causes, and whatnot. And I would like to see us not only allow those things, but make sure we don't set up a situation where we make it easier for that one neighbor maybe to use code enforcement sort of as their own personal vendetta settler and whatnot. So that's my biggest concern with all this. And I do thank several of you aldermen for looking at some proposed changes to maybe keep that from happening. So
thank you. Now, Alderman.
I'm sorry. I apologize for all the confusion with all the striking and everything. Now, I'd just like to say about the signs, I have two signs in my yard all the time. One of them is I support Bartlett Athletics, and one is I support the Bartlett Fine Arts. And I would hate to be limited to the 60 days of the year that I really support those. So that's what I didn't get into because we got into the weeds on all that. But I think that's what you're talking about. That's what I am. Thank you.
So I would just say, for me personally, I've seen what it can look like when everybody puts out whatever they want to for however long they want to. And I understand the freedom of speech, but I also understand property rights. And my grandfather taught me that my rights stop where your nose starts. And so if you're putting things up in yards that bring down my property value, you're impeding on my rights. So I would just ask everybody to consider that as we go through this discussion, because yes, I believe in free speech, but I do also believe in the number one investment of most of the people in the city of Bartlett being their home, and anything that would diminish that, I would oppose, and that's just me personally. Anyone else? If not, anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hello. My name is Marva Jackson Malone. I live at 6819 Old Brownsville Road, which is at the corner of Artie and Old Brownsville. And as you know, at the end of Artie is the water treatment plant. And I know that there's a lot of construction going on, a lot of houses and everything that are coming on, especially there's going to be a new subdivision right there on my street, I understand. Will the water treatment plant be big enough to handle all these extra houses and things?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. I'm getting shaking the head of yes from both of my engineers. So I think that has been taken into consideration. Thanks for the question. All right. Anything else anyone has? Seeing no one else coming forward, this being the completion of our regular agenda, this meeting stands adjourned.